Welcome to the High Achievers Quest podcast, where we host extraordinary individuals who are disrupting and transforming the way we do business and the way we lead ourselves and others. Our today's guest is a well-known psychologist with over 15 years of experience. She's also the co-founder and one of the directors of the Hummingbird Center for Psychology and Mental Health. With several clinics based out of New South Wales, Australia, the Hummingbird Center has been going from strength to strength, and in the recent months, they've been able to transition from a mainly face-to-face business into a very successful online model that is now able to support many mental health practitioners as well as clients and patients from all over the world. Now, please help me welcome another inspiring female business owner and an entrepreneur, Alikki Russell. Alikki, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's lovely to have you, Alikki. And well, when we first met, I remember you being so inspired and so committed to your community, to your business, to the legacy that you are currently creating with the Hummingbird Center. So would you please start off and tell us a little bit more about the story that you're co-creating with your business partner, Ricky, and with your team?
Sure. So at the Hummingbird Center, well, the original story is Ricky and I both had separate psychology clinics that we're directing on our own, and we would often meet together at conferences, present at conferences and trainings, and run into each other all the time. And as time went on, we built up quite a good relationship and supportive relationship with each other. And what we found was we were both doing the same thing, but just separately, sort of parallel to each other, alongside each other. And we decided, or we thought about it and thought, we could have a much greater impact if we merged our two clinics and supported each other through that process. It's going to save us a lot of time. It's going to save us some money. And you have that person there that can sort of walk that path alongside you. So we got a bit of business advice about merging our clinics and went ahead and did it. And it's been a fantastic thing for both of us.
Well, that's fantastic. So in terms of the legacy and where you see the Hummingbird Center going moving forward, tell us a little bit about your vision.
So I guess our vision is to provide fantastic mental health treatment and support to people, all around the world. And while COVID has been devastating for us and for people all around the world, seeing its effects, it's also provided us with opportunities for growth and learning within our team and external to our team. It's helped us have a greater impact and a more far-reaching impact. I guess, our team, they're all incredible people. We've been really lucky with our team members and how passionate they are, how fantastic they are at their jobs. And now Ricky and I, we've sort of pivoted and changed the way that we see our role. And we can have a much greater impact by supporting our team to support others than we could by doing a lot of one-on-one support with our clients. And while we both still do that, and while we both love doing that and love supporting our clients, we can support our teams to support more clients and have greater impact in mental health on the community.
So Alikki, when the pandemic hit and the lockdown began, did you ever had that moment within when you thought to yourself, oh my God, what are we going to do now? Yeah. And if that moment came, how did you go about it?
Yeah. I think several times I had that thought over a few weeks, and it was probably right before it hit, when it felt imminent, but there was so much uncertainty around that, throughout that period. There's quite a bit of stress and anxiety around what are we going to do now. And I guess being one of the co-directors, we had so much a sense of responsibility for not just our team, but also all of our clients, not just our clients, and but our team's clients as well. You know, how are we going to support all of these people with this going on? We couldn't figure out what we were going to do, and it can start to feel really overwhelming. And I remember we spoke throughout that time, and I sort of had a bit of a word vomit with you of, all right, this is going on, this is what, you know, feeling a bit overwhelmed. And I think you said to me, so what are you going to do about it? And it sort of helped to switch me into, oh, I can do something about it. Here's what I can do about it. Come up with a bit of a plan, rather than getting sort of stuck in that sort of rumination panic cycle and getting overwhelmed by that. Making a bit of a plan for what can I do about this, and then leveraging what I did have. So, you know, I already had some knowledge of online services because we'd been doing some supervision with people overseas for a while. So I knew how to do that, and I knew that was possible. So that was there. But I also had contacts with people from around the world. And, you know, the trainings that we did have scheduled, yes, they were going to have to be cancelled because people weren't allowed to travel around the world. But because we already had those relationships, we just pivot that and make that online. So we were able to leverage what we had and work towards something different. So it wasn't that big of a leap for us because some of these things we already had in place. It was just changing the way that we were doing it and looking at it. And again, feeling like you've got that sense of control over it really helps to manage any anxiety around what we're going to do and how we're going to cope.
So there's another question that I want to ask you, and it's about and around leaders currently having their teams, their top performers working from home. And as much as a lot of people are, like you said before, focusing on what needs to be done, focusing on what still needs to be completed, there's also people who are battling with anxiety and depression, but they're hiding it, right? And a lot of people are becoming very good at hiding those emotions. And there's still quite a bit of stigma around, you know, leaders being able to show their vulnerable side, right? Saying, I'm a leader and I need to lead and manage this team and I'm responsible, and yet I'm struggling as well. Not to mention that there's a lot of people who have lost their family members and so on during this pandemic. And there's obviously been a lot of challenges and changes in people's lives. What would you say, or what advice would you give to those people?
Yeah. Look, I think a part of being a leader is showing that vulnerability, and there is strength in showing that. And again, I refer to the work of Brene Brown, that vulnerability, that's not a weakness, that's actually a strength. And that by that connection, you know, we're social beings, humans, by that connection and that realization, that ownership of our own vulnerabilities, that actually is empowering for the team as well, that you know, you're still human. This stuff is still really stressful for everyone. And by making that connection and sharing those vulnerabilities, it does sort of humanize us and can strengthen your team, and also can help. You know, it's been a really interesting process to watch other team members and how they've stepped up to be leaders in the team and support others throughout this process. Like these times can bring that about in people as well.
And so what would you say, I mean, a woman of your caliber, I know you said to me that, you know, you had children when you were really young, 19 or 18. And
19, yeah.
Pretty much built your career and your business and created a life where you are today through raising kids, as well as navigating and managing other life challenges on the way. What's your attitude? What's your mindset, or even business psychology around that?
Yeah. That's what's been interesting. I think, you know, learning how to run a business, it really, a lot of it, if not most of it, is psychology, isn't it? So I guess as I've grown and matured and learned, I'm not all the way there yet. I don't think we ever are. I've learned to not sweat the small stuff. I've learned to recognize my own patterns. I've learned to recognize when I need to take a break or when I need to work a bit harder. I've learned when I'm avoiding things and I need to step up and not avoid them. I think in terms of having kids young, I think that actually has helped me, you know, through those challenges. Like, my kids, they've motivated me to keep going. And I don't think I'd be where I am today in business or otherwise if I hadn't had them. So I don't think they've impacted it or slowed me down at all. I think, in fact, having kids has given me the drive that I need to keep working for what I want and to be a good role model for them. And now likewise with my team. We do consider our team a family as well, where we all support each other. So yeah, I think that has an effect with the team too.
Well, that's very inspiring, especially the part where you said that you probably wouldn't be where you are today in business if you didn't have your kids. The next question that I kind of thought of as you were talking about role modeling is, I would love to hear a little bit about who are your role models when you first started your career, your business, even just going in the line of work that you are in today. What has inspired you to do so, or who?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest ones that are coming to mind, particularly early career. Well, I think I've been just really lucky throughout my life, having been exposed to a lot of fantastic and inspiring women and men. And I think men in terms of expectations around sort of who does what. I haven't had to deal with much sexism around anything like that. And the women that I've been exposed to have been fantastic and inspiring. One that comes to mind off the top of my head is when I first started in private practice. I worked for another psychologist, and she was just so incredibly supportive. And I remember being really anxious. I don't know anything. How am I going to help people? And she was just always really calm and supportive, and she still is now. So I'll still ring her with, if I don't know how to, I'm trying to figure something out business wise, or, throughout COVID, we spoke a few times how she's running things and bounce some ideas off each other. And she was just always so open and warm and willing to help and support. And I remembered that feeling of being really supported and how valuable that was to me. And then, throughout my career, having been exposed to others and having, heard other people's stories and how that affects their growth, whether they've been supported and nurtured to achieve their full potential versus those who haven't. And even when you haven't, some of my colleagues now, they weren't very well supported, and they used that to drive them, and now they're incredible clinicians despite that. So I think it's certainly still possible, but you can definitely see the value in supporting others. And I think that's where what Ricky and I are trying to do now with the Hummingbird Centre is we just try and make it possible for our team to reach new levels for themselves by supporting them throughout that process. Yeah, so she was certainly one very inspiring person throughout that. Yeah.
And talking about your team, I am very curious, and I'm sure that there's a lot of business owners listening to you right now and knowing and hearing, oh, Alikki is a psychologist, right? And like you said, your clinic is multidisciplinary. There's a lot of ways in which you support your community as a center. But at the same time, you and Ricky are also very dedicated to supporting your staff members and your trainers and clinicians and so on. Could you give us some very specific ways in which you have been supporting your team to do their best, to take care of themselves, but also to be productive and to deliver while this time of great uncertainty has been unfolding?
Yeah. So I guess we provide, the typical sort of administrative support. So we have a fabulous administration team. So they provide, help with scheduling and all of that sort of administrative stuff, which might not sound like much, but it's probably the most stressful thing for our psychologists, for our therapists, is, having all of that sort of stuff managed. So we take away that stuff. But with our admin team, they're so good at what they do that's a pretty easy thing at the moment for us to be able to provide them. I think one of the one of the most powerful ways we've been able to support them is through their own learning and growth. So what we do is we've reached out to many different supervisors and trainers, experts in their field, and we've lined up supervision and training with those experts for our team, so that they can be really well supported in treating their really complex presentations. So traumatized clients, traumatized families, our clinicians can go in and have supervision with some experts around the world, and it's through things like Zoom that they can do that. So they feel, yes, I know what I'm doing and I'm supported in doing that. And they also have, obviously, Ricky and I, who are around to support that growth and learning as well. And we do it in many different areas, so across many different psychological presentations, but also legal stuff. So we have people that work in family law that come in and teach us and train us on that. And that's actually ended up being an interesting development in the business, because we realized, you know, how valuable that was for us as clinicians, but also for the rest of our team. So we've expanded that out, and now we offer quite a bit of that to therapists around the world as well. And that's again become available through you know, mediums such as Zoom online, that we can actually expand that out. And now we offer training, so it's actually become a source of revenue for the company as well. Yeah, our team gets it for free though.
Fantastic. And so what about things like stress management and mental health, right? We have a lot of executives, a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, busy working moms and dads, families, right, who are just adapting to this new lifestyle of working from home, raising kids from home, schooling from home, pretty much doing everything from home, from your exercise to, you know, you name it. What are some very useful practical things that you would offer to our audience who are looking to stress manage and just stay in good mental health shape?
Yeah. I guess probably first of all, it's recognizing that we are going through an incredibly stressful time. So it's not, you know, we do expect that we're all going to be a little more stressed at the moment, if not a lot more stressed at the moment, and that's normal. We can't go along pretending like everything's fine and you shouldn't be stressed, because that will just increase our stress levels. You know, we know that there's a lot's changed, a lot's been, you know, moved around, that there may be actual health concerns. We may have issues around finances. You know, there's a lot of very real issues that we're dealing with at the moment. So I think some of it is acceptance that it's okay to feel more stressed at the moment, and it's okay for our families and our kiddies and all of that to feel really stressed at the moment. When we're like that, it's not a great time to be making really big decisions, but it is a great time to start to care for ourselves a bit more. And for our kids and family a bit more. And we can do that by coming back to basics in terms of, you know, looking at your routine, ensuring that your general health and well-being is as good as it can be in terms of, are you eating well? You know, how's your sleep going? How's your sleep hygiene? Are you getting any exercise? Are you getting a break from work? I know I really struggle with taking that step back from work, because it is really easy for me to jump on and do some work online, because you know, there's always work there to do, and if you're not doing much else at home, it's super easy to just jump on and get one of the 1,000 things you feel like you need to do done. I think scheduling and planning, making sure that you're having those breaks from work, like I think they're all the really simple but probably the most important things to give us a really good baseline of health and well-being, and then from there we can look at, you know, what can we do to help our families and businesses grow. Given that we've settled into the pandemic a bit now, there is a lot more out there online. There's some fantastic apps that you can access that are really supportive around mental health, things like mindfulness and meditation. There's actually a lot of therapy stuff online that you can do. There's lots of services out there that we can use to support our mental health and well-being.
And as we're talking about mental health and well-being, I mean, if you think about running a business, running a family unit, at the same time as all of this is going down, I can't help but tap into your business psychology. We've known each other for a while now, and I know that you are an excellent business owner and an entrepreneur. And the vision that you and Ricky have for the Hummingbird Center is quite amazing. But without going into details, right, for the future plans, I would love to just hear potentially one or two ways that you are keeping on top of your excitement and your motivation, and just keeping on top of things.
Yeah, yeah. So there's, I think probably the biggest thing is the business coaching for me, because it is keeping, like, that's someone there that helps to keep me accountable. It's not always actually for the business, but sometimes just for myself personally. It's like, are you still exercising? Are you still eating well? Are you, planning your meals out to make sure that you're getting the good nutrition that you need? Because if I have that baseline, then I can keep growing. So business coaching is probably the biggest thing. It's that person that I'm checking in with to make sure that I am still going with these goals, that help me to work through any sort of barriers that I might be facing. Also, I've really found that listening to podcasts and listening to online things, that really motivates me. So, I might just chuck my headphones in and go for a walk in the afternoon. That's a really good switch off for me. But listening to some of that stuff, I sort of get really inspired and motivated again to achieve whatever the goals are that I'm looking to achieve. So that I find those things probably the most helpful. Yeah.
And what is your, I don't know, what are your one or two favorite podcasts?
Yeah. So I've got Tony Robbins. So that's a fabulous podcast. So I think I've listened to all of them now up to date. The High Achievers podcast, of course. Love that one too. I also like to listen to, Michelle Obama. I love her podcast. I love the work of Brene Brown. She's a social worker, so we're in, the same sort of field. So I like listening to all of those. They're really helpful.
And is there a book that you would recommend to our listeners that could potentially be extremely useful for business during these times when a lot of businesses have to pivot?
In terms of a book, Dare to Lead by Brene Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Just saw that one sitting right on my desk, right in front of me. That was a good one. But I listen to a lot of audio books. So what I find is at the end of the day now, I used to love reading, but at the end of the day now I find it hard to pick up a book and read. I think just the focusing all day impacts on that. So what I've done is downloaded audio books. If I'm driving, if I'm traveling distances, if I've got some time there to listen to that, and I think I've done all of Brene Brown's books, so that they're pretty powerful ones for me. I've got Simon Sinek, all of those typical leaders.
Yeah. And what about learning from mistakes and failures? Right? That's one of my favorite questions because it usually unlocks quite a bit of gold. And so do you have one or two situations in your life in general? It doesn't have to be just business, because it would have probably impacted you as a whole anyway. Any situations, learnings, mistakes, opportunities for growth that have made you the leader and the business owner and the woman you are today?
I think overall, just managing stress and not panicking about it, not getting too overwhelmed by things, and certainly not mistakes, but having my kids so young, that was incredibly challenging, and there'd be times throughout that period where I'd feel quite overwhelmed and feel like I wasn't going to, how was I going to get all this done? I'm not going to get it all done, because through studying at uni to learning how to be a psychologist, and then learning how to run a business, all of that while raising kids, was quite challenging. I think if I looked back, I don't know that I would change anything that's happened in my life except for at times just how stressed I was about it. And now I think I've gotten a lot better as I'm getting older, with even when big stressful things happening, just you know that there's going to be another side to this, and managing that helps. It helps to manage that throughout that process, that, you know, this is going to be okay. Even in times of a pandemic, we do get to the other side of these things. And what can I do right now to help me manage that, to help my family manage that, and to help my team manage that?
So Alikki, is there one habit or one routine that you would say you couldn't live without, or that has made you into the business owner that you are today?
Yeah. Look, I don't know about live without. I think it's the most important thing for me, but it is something that I do really struggle with, and I need to keep bringing myself back. And again, that's where business coaching and having that person that I'm accountable to has really helped me. And that's, again, just that general self-care and that just being organized. It's about maintaining my own routine and not getting too caught up in doing too much work where I then become less productive rather than more productive. Part of that too is each week scheduling my week, you know, looking at, and I remember us talking about this, and you taught me how to do this, is, you know, going through what do I have on for my week, what needs to get done, what actually needs to get done, and then actually scheduling that into my calendar. So I know then, you know, when I'm sitting down and I'm doing this, that I'm going to achieve all of these things. I don't need to, you know, submit to that sense of urgency that I've got to do it all and I've got to do it now. I know it's going to get done in my week if I follow that plan, and that helps me to feel a bit more organized, but also prioritizing, you know, my own health and well-being. You know, am I scheduling in gym sessions or exercise in some other form? Do I have enough social stuff in my calendar? You know, is there a good balance? And I think maintaining that balance is the most important thing for me, and probably for all of us. At the same time, it's something that I do continue to struggle with, but I have to keep bringing that to the forefront every week, twice a week. It's a Sunday afternoon and a Thursday afternoon. I sit down and I look at that. Where am I at with that? So I know that things are getting covered, and I know across all areas of my life. Yeah.
Well, I'm hearing that you're someone who takes control, because, like you said, the moment that you submit to emotions, I mean, at the end of the day, we get to choose what we feel or what we experience in the moment, if we only remind ourselves that we have that choice. Sometimes it's said than done, of course. It's really good that that's the structure and the routine that you have found has brought you so much success. And so, Alikki, for our viewers and our listeners, if anyone wants to reach out, where can they find you?
So they can find us online. So we're at hummingbirdscentre.com.au. So you'll find us there. You can read a bit about our team and a bit about the services that we provide on there. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. And so one final question for you. What advice would you give to your younger self?
Yeah, I think it would still be that don't sweat the small stuff. You know, you get through this stuff, and you've got to enjoy the ride as well. And if you're getting too caught up in stressful things that are happening just day to day, you know, you're not enjoying the ride, and that's what it's about. It's about enjoying this process and learning and growing, and looking forward to the future. Yeah, so I think that's what I would tell myself.
Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and your experience and everything that you've shared with us today, Alikki. We appreciate you, and we can't wait to have you back on our podcast, perhaps at a later date when Hummingbird Centre achieves even greater success. So good luck to you, and thank you again.
Thanks for having me.
If you like this video, give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you want to be notified every single time that we post new content, then make sure that you hit that subscribe button and press that bell next to it. It's totally free. Now make sure that you watch our previous videos on YouTube or subscribe to our the High Achievers Quest podcast. Thanks for tuning in.